I was humiliated as poor in my own hotel. Nobody knew who I was. Chapter 1. The Unexpected Return. The autumn wind swept through Manhattan's Fifth Avenue, carrying golden leaves that danced around the feet of hurried pedestrians. Clara Bennett stood across the street from the Grandeur Hotel, a magnificent 30-story building of glass and steel that reflected the afternoon sun like a beacon of luxury. Her heart pounded as she clutched her worn canvas bag closer to her chest. It had been 3 years since she'd last set foot in New York City. 3 years since she'd walked away from everything to help her sick mother in a small town in Ohio. 3 years since she'd left her hotel, her creation, in the hands of managers she trusted. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have incredible stories like this every week. Clara looked down at her faded jeans and simple sweater. The rain from earlier had left dark stains on her old sneakers. She hadn't had time to change after the long bus ride. Her mother had passed away 2 weeks ago, and Clara had spent every penny on medical bills and funeral costs. Now she was returning to reclaim what was rightfully hers, the hotel empire she'd built from nothing. Taking a deep breath, Clara crossed the street and pushed through the revolving glass doors. The lobby took her breath away. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting warm light over marble floors so polished they reflected like mirrors. The scent of expensive perfume and fresh flowers filled the air. Guests in designer clothes glided past, their voices a refined murmur. "This is still mine," Clara whispered to herself, feeling both pride and anxiety twist in her stomach. She approached the reception desk where a young woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and a navy blazer stood typing on a computer. A gold nameplate read, "Jessica Miller, Front Desk Manager." "Excuse me," Clara said, offering a tired smile. Jessica looked up, and her expression immediately shifted from professional courtesy to barely concealed disdain. Her eyes traveled from Clara's messy hair to her worn shoes, taking in every detail with obvious judgment. "Can I help you?" Jessica asked, her tone cold and clipped. "Yes, I need to speak with Robert Chen, the general manager. Could you please call him?" Leave a like if you're already hooked on this story. It really helps us continue bringing content like this to you. Jessica's perfectly shaped eyebrows raised slightly. "Mr. Chen is extremely busy. Do you have an appointment?" "No, but he'll want to see me. Just tell him Clara Bennett is here." A flicker of recognition crossed Jessica's face, but it was quickly replaced by disbelief. She looked Clara up and down again, more slowly this time, her lips curling into a subtle smirk. "Clara Bennett?" Jessica repeated, her voice dripping with skepticism. "The owner of this hotel?" "Yes." Jessica let out a short, sharp laugh that made several nearby guests turn their heads. "Ma'am, I don't know what kind of scam you're trying to pull, but Ms. Bennett would never show up looking like that." She gestured vaguely at Clara's appearance. "Security policies require me to verify all claims. And frankly, you look more like you're here to ask for spare change than to claim ownership of a 5-star hotel." Clara felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I understand how this looks, but I've been away dealing with a family emergency. If you just call Mr. Chen—" "I'm not calling anyone," Jessica interrupted, her voice growing louder. "And I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call security. We have standards here. This is the Grandeur Hotel, not a homeless shelter." The words hit Clara like physical blows. Around them, guests had stopped to watch the confrontation. Clara could feel their eyes on her, could hear whispered comments. Her hands trembled as she gripped her bag tighter. "Please," Clara said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just need 5 minutes with Mr. Chen. He knows who I am. We've worked together for years." Comment below what city you're watching from. We love knowing where our viewers are from around the world. Jessica crossed her arms, her expression hardening. "Listen, lady, I've worked here for 2 years. I've seen Ms. Bennett's signature on documents. I've heard stories about her. She's a sophisticated businesswoman who travels in limousines and wears designer suits. She would never let herself be seen in public looking like you do. So either you're delusional, or this is some kind of con. Either way, you need to leave. Now." "I built this hotel from the ground up," Clara said, her voice breaking slightly. "I designed this lobby. I chose those chandeliers. I interviewed and hired the first 50 employees myself. This is my life's work. Security, Jessica called out, not even looking at Clara anymore. Two large men in dark suits appeared almost instantly, walking toward Clara with determined expressions. Other guests had formed a loose circle around the scene, some filming on their phones, others whispering to each other with shocked faces. One of the security guards, a tall man with graying hair, approached Clara. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come with us." "Wait," Clara said desperately. "Please, just call Robert Chen, or check your employee records. My name should be in the system as the owner. Clara Bennett. Born in Brooklyn. Graduated from NYU with a degree in hotel management. I opened this hotel 7 years ago with a small business loan and everything I had saved. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our incredible real-life stories." Jessica rolled her eyes dramatically. "Anyone could look up that information online. Do you really think we're that stupid?" She turned to the security guards. "Please escort this woman out, and make sure she understands she's not welcome back." The security guard placed a firm hand on Clara's shoulder. "Let's go, ma'am. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Clara's mind raced. Her phone had died on the bus, and she had left her identification and credit cards in a safety deposit box at a bank that was now closed for the day. She had nothing to prove who she was, nothing but her word and her memories. "This is wrong," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper as tears began to blur her vision. "This is my hotel. I just wanted to come home." As the security guards began to guide her toward the exit, Clara caught sight of her reflection in one of the lobby's ornate mirrors. She barely recognized herself. Her hair was tangled and graying at the temples. Her face was thin, marked by stress and grief. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She looked 20 years older than her 42 years. Maybe Jessica was right. Maybe she didn't look like the Clara Bennett who had left 3 years ago, confident, polished, powerful. That woman seemed like a distant memory now. The cool autumn air hit Clara's face as the security guards pushed her through the revolving doors and onto the sidewalk. A small crowd of onlookers had gathered, some still filming the humiliating scene. What do you think will happen next? Comment your predictions below. We love reading your thoughts. If you try to come back, we'll call the police, one of the guards warned before turning back inside. Clara stood on the sidewalk, her legs shaking. She had nowhere to go, no money for a hotel room, and no way to prove her identity until the bank opened in the morning. The irony wasn't lost on her. She owned one of the most luxurious hotels in Manhattan, yet she'd be spending the night on the street. As she walked aimlessly down Fifth Avenue, the lights of the city beginning to glow against the darkening sky, Clara made a decision. Tomorrow, she would return with proof. Tomorrow, she would reclaim what was hers. And tomorrow, everyone who had humiliated her would learn a lesson they'd never forget. But tonight, she was just another invisible person in a city that had forgotten her. Chapter 2. The Long Night. Clara found shelter in an all-night diner on 8th Avenue, a modest place with cracked vinyl booths and fluorescent lights that hummed constantly. The stark contrast to the Grandeur Hotel's opulence was almost painful. She ordered a cup of coffee with the few dollar bills she had crumpled in her pocket, making it last for hours while she sat in a corner booth trying to formulate a plan. The diner was populated by an eclectic mix of late-night workers, insomniacs, and people like her, those with nowhere else to go. At the booth next to hers, an elderly man in a threadbare coat nursed a bowl of soup. Across the aisle, a young woman in a hospital scrubs uniform dozed lightly between sips of coffee, clearly exhausted from a long shift. Rough night? The waitress, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gray hair pulled into a bun, refilled Clara's cup without being asked. "You could say that," Clara replied, managing a weak smile. "Thank you." If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe to our channel. We share powerful real-life stories every week that will move you. The waitress, whose name tag read Donna, pulled out a chair and sat down across from Clara. "I've been working here 23 years. I can tell when someone's carrying the weight of the world. You want to talk about it?" Clara hesitated, then found herself pouring out the whole story. The hotel she'd built, her mother's illness, the 3 years away, and the humiliation she'd endured just hours ago. Donna listened without interruption, her expression shifting from sympathy to outrage. "That's absolutely shameful," Donna said when Clara finished. "Judging someone by their appearance like that? We're all just people trying to get through life." "I keep asking myself if I should have done something differently," Clara admitted. "Maybe I should have called ahead. Maybe I should have found a way to clean up first. But I was so eager to get home, to see what I'd built, to step back into my life." Donna reached across the table and squeezed Clara's hand. "Don't you dare blame yourself. What happened to you wasn't about your clothes or your appearance. It was about people who've forgotten basic human decency and compassion. We live in a world where we're so quick to judge, so quick to assume we know someone's whole story from one glance. Leave a like if you agree that we should never judge people by their appearance. Your support means everything to us." As the night wore on, Clara reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had grown up in a modest apartment in Brooklyn, the daughter of a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat. From a young age, Clara had been fascinated by hotels, the way they brought together people from all walks of life, the way they could make someone feel special, cared for, seen. She'd worked her way through college, taking every hospitality job she could find. She started as a housekeeper, then moved to the front desk, then to event coordination. By the time she was 30, she was managing a small boutique hotel in Queens. That's when she had the vision for the Grandeur Hotel, a place that combined luxury with genuine warmth, where every guest would be treated not just as a customer, but as a valued human being. It had taken every penny she had, plus a significant business loan, to make it happen. The first 2 years had been brutal. 18-hour days, constant problem-solving, the weight of debt always hanging over her head. But slowly, the Grandeur had gained a reputation. High-profile guests started choosing it over the more established competitors. Awards followed. Within 5 years, the Grandeur was one of the most sought-after hotels in Manhattan. Then her mother's diagnosis came: stage 4 cancer. Clara had faced an impossible choice: stay in New York and watch her empire from a distance while her mother suffered alone, or go to Ohio and be there for the woman who had sacrificed everything for her. There had been no real choice at all. Comment below. Would you have made the same decision? We want to hear your thoughts. She had put Robert Chen, her most trusted manager, in charge. She'd checked in regularly at first, but as her mother's condition worsened, the calls had become less frequent. She'd trusted that everything was running smoothly. Maybe that had been her mistake. Around 3 in the morning, Clara's attention was drawn to a commotion near the entrance. A young man, barely in his 20s, stumbled into the diner. His clothes were dirty, and he was clearly struggling with something: addiction, mental illness, or both. He approached several booths, asking for money in a slurred voice. Clara watched as most customers turned away, some with disgust, others with fear. But Donna walked up to the young man with the same kindness she'd shown Clara. She guided him to a booth, brought him water and a sandwich, and spoke to him in low, gentle tones. When Donna returned to Clara's booth, Clara asked, "Do you do that often? Help people like him?" Donna shrugged. "Like him? He's just a person having a hard time. Could be any of us, given the right circumstances. Or wrong ones, I suppose. My son struggled with addiction for years. He's better now, thank God, but I remember how people looked at him. How they judged him. How they treated him like he was less than human. I promised myself I'd never do that to someone else." Clara felt tears prick her eyes. "I thought I built the Grandeur on that principle, treating everyone with dignity and respect. But somewhere along the way, it seems like that mission got lost. The staff I hired today, they forgot what the hotel was supposed to represent." Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have more inspiring stories that will restore your faith in humanity. "Then you remind them," Donna said firmly. "You get back in there tomorrow, you prove who you are, and you remind them what your hotel is supposed to stand for. Sometimes people need to be shown, not just told." As dawn began to break, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Clara thanked Donna for the coffee and the conversation. She left the diner with a renewed sense of purpose. The night had been long and difficult, but it had also given her perspective. She'd experienced firsthand what it felt like to be dismissed, judged, and treated as invisible. That experience, as painful as it was, would make her a better leader. The morning air was crisp and cool as Clara made her way to the bank. She was there when the doors opened at 9 o'clock sharp. A friendly teller helped her access her safety deposit box, where she retrieved her driver's license, credit cards, and the original deed to the Grandeur Hotel, a document she'd kept as a memento of the day her dream became reality. Armed with proof of her identity, Clara took a cab back to the Grandeur Hotel. As the car pulled up to the familiar entrance, she took a deep breath. This time would be different. This time, she would reclaim what was hers. And this time, there would be consequences for those who had forgotten the values she'd built the hotel upon. What do you think Clara should do when she gets inside? Comment your ideas below. We love hearing from you. Chapter 3. The Reckoning and Redemption. Clara walked through the revolving doors of the Grandeur Hotel for the second time in less than 24 hours. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows, making the marble floors gleam. The lobby was bustling with activity, guests checking out, business people meeting for morning coffee, staff moving efficiently through their routines. And there, at the front desk, was Jessica Miller, looking as perfectly polished as she had the day before. When Jessica glanced up and saw Clara, her face went through a rapid series of expressions: surprise, annoyance, and then smug satisfaction. "I thought I told you," Jessica began, reaching for the phone to call security. "Before you do that," Clara said calmly, placing her driver's license and the hotel deed on the marble counter, "I think you should look at these documents. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You won't want to miss what happens next." Jessica's hand froze midway to the phone. She looked down at the documents, and Clara watched as the color slowly drained from her face. The driver's license showed Clara's face, thinner and more worn than the photo, but unmistakably her. And the deed clearly listed Clara Ann Bennett as the sole owner of the Grandeur Hotel. This can't be," Jessica stammered, her professional composure crumbling. "It is," Clara said quietly. "I am Clara Bennett. I own this hotel. And yesterday you humiliated me, judged me based solely on my appearance, and had me thrown out of my own establishment." Jessica's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. Her perfectly manicured hands trembled as she picked up the documents, examining them as if hoping they might be forgeries. At that moment, Robert Chen emerged from the elevator, briefcase in hand, looking every bit the successful executive in his tailored suit. When he saw Clara standing at the front desk, he stopped dead in his tracks. "Clara!" His voice was barely a whisper. Then, louder, filled with genuine emotion, "Clara! Oh my God, Clara!" He rushed forward, and for a moment, Clara thought he might embrace her. But he stopped short, taking in her appearance with obvious concern. "Are you all right? When did you get back? Why didn't you call? I would have sent a car to pick you up." "I tried to get in touch yesterday," Clara said, her voice steady but cold. "I came directly here from the bus station, but your front desk manager decided I didn't look respectable enough to be allowed in my own hotel. She had security throw me out onto the street." Leave a like if you're feeling the emotions of this moment. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to you. Robert's head whipped toward Jessica, his expression transforming from welcoming warmth to icy fury. "You did what?" Jessica had gone from pale to bright red. I didn't know. She didn't look like what?" Robert's voice was dangerously quiet. "She didn't look wealthy enough. She didn't look important enough. She didn't meet your standards of what someone should look like to deserve basic human respect." A crowd was gathering again, just as it had yesterday. But this time, the dynamics were completely different. Clara stood tall, no longer the powerless victim. Jessica looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. "Mr. Chen, I thought I was protecting the hotel," Jessica said desperately. "We have policies about treating every person who walks through those doors with dignity and respect," Clara interrupted. "That was the policy I established when I opened this hotel. Somewhere along the way, that message got lost." She turned to address the growing crowd of employees and guests. 7 years ago, I opened the Grandeur with a vision. I wanted to create a place where excellence in service wasn't about exclusivity. It was about making every single person feel valued. I wanted a hotel where a housekeeper was treated with the same respect as a CEO, where a guest's worth wasn't measured by the size of their wallet or the designer label on their clothes. Comment below what you think makes a truly great hotel. We want to hear your perspectives. Clara's voice grew stronger as she continued. Yesterday, I experienced firsthand what happens when we forget our humanity, when we judge people based on superficial appearances, when we assume we know someone's entire story from a single glance. I was treated like trash in the business I built with my own hands because I was having a bad day, because I'd spent the last 3 years caring for my dying mother instead of maintaining the image of success. Several people in the crowd nodded. Clara noticed one woman wiping tears from her eyes. Jessica, Clara said, turning back to the front desk manager. You're fired, effective immediately. Jessica's face crumpled. Please, Ms. Bennett, I'm so sorry. I have student loans, I have rent to pay. I made a terrible mistake, but I've worked so hard to get this position. You worked hard to get a position you didn't understand, Clara said. But I'm not heartless. I'll give you 2 weeks severance pay. Use that time to think about what happened here. Think about how you treated someone in their most vulnerable moment. Maybe that reflection will make you a better person. Clara then turned to Robert. We need to have a long conversation about what's been happening here in my absence. But first, I need a hot shower and about 12 hours of sleep. Could you arrange a suite for me? In my own hotel? Subscribe to the channel if you believe in second chances and learning from mistakes. Robert nodded quickly. Of course, the presidential suite. I'll take you up myself. He hesitated, then added, Clara, I'm so sorry about your mother, and I'm sorry that your return home was so painful. This never should have happened. No, it shouldn't have, Clara agreed. But maybe it needed to. Maybe I needed to see what this place had become when no one remembered the values it was built on. As Robert led her toward the elevators, Clara paused and turned back to the assembled crowd. To all the staff members here, we're going to have a mandatory meeting tomorrow morning. We're going to remember who we are and what we stand for. And we're going to make sure that what happened to me yesterday never happens to anyone else. The elevator doors closed, and Clara finally allowed herself to relax slightly. Robert stood beside her, respectfully silent. How bad has it gotten? Clara asked softly. Robert sighed heavily. Honestly, we've been successful. Maybe too successful. We've attracted a wealthier clientele. And somewhere along the way, some of the staff started believing that those were the only guests who mattered. I should have caught it sooner. I should have done more to maintain your original vision. We both have work to do, Clara said. But first, I need to reclaim my life, starting with a shower and clean clothes. What changes do you think Clara should make at the hotel? Comment your ideas below. The presidential suite was exactly as Clara remembered it. Spacious, elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of Central Park. For a moment, she just stood at the window, looking out at the city she'd called home for so long. After the longest, hottest shower of her life, Clara wrapped herself in a plush hotel robe and sat down with her laptop. She spent the afternoon making calls, to lawyers, to accountants, to business consultants. She reviewed 3 years of financial records and staff evaluations. She made lists of changes that needed to be implemented immediately, and others that would require more time and planning. The next morning, Clara stood before the assembled hotel staff in the grand ballroom. She'd dressed carefully in a simple but elegant navy suit, her hair professionally styled, her appearance once again matching what people expected from a successful businesswoman. But something fundamental had changed in her. Don't forget to leave a like if this story has moved you. It really helps our channel grow. Good morning, she began. For those who don't know me, I'm Clara Bennett, the owner and founder of the Grandeur Hotel. Some of you were here when we opened 7 years ago. Others have joined us more recently. But regardless of when you arrived, I want to make sure you understand the values this hotel was built upon. She recounted the story of her humiliation 2 days earlier, watching as faces in the crowd showed shock, embarrassment, and in some cases, recognition that they too had sometimes failed to live up to the hotel's ideals. I'm not telling you this to shame anyone, Clara said. I'm telling you because I believe in radical honesty and continuous improvement. We all fall short sometimes. We all make judgments we shouldn't. We all have moments where we forget to see the human being in front of us. But we can do better. We must do better. She outlined new training programs focused on empathy and inclusion. She announced the creation of a guest advocate position, someone whose sole job would be to ensure that every guest and every staff member was treated with respect. She talked about restructuring the hierarchy to give more voice to housekeepers, maintenance workers, and other staff who were often overlooked. I also want to share something else, Clara continued. My experience these past few days has given me a new idea. Once a month, I'm going to spend a full day working in a different position in this hotel. As a housekeeper, a bellhop, a restaurant server. I want to stay connected to every level of this operation, and I'm inviting all managers to do the same. Comment below. Would you want to work at a hotel like this? We love hearing your thoughts. The meeting lasted 2 hours, with Clara taking questions and feedback from staff at all levels. By the end, there was a palpable sense of renewed purpose in the room. People who had been going through the motions of their jobs suddenly remembered why they'd chosen hospitality in the first place: to serve others, to create moments of comfort and joy, to make people feel valued. In the weeks that followed, Clara threw herself into rebuilding the Granger's culture. She personally interviewed every new hire, asking them not just about their skills, but about their values. She implemented a recognition program that celebrated staff members who went above and beyond in showing kindness and respect. She reduced the barriers between management and line staff, creating open forums where anyone could voice concerns or suggestions. One afternoon, about a month after her return, Clara was in her office when Robert knocked on the door. "There's someone here to see you," he said. "She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important." Clara looked up to see Jessica Miller standing nervously in the doorway. She looked different. Her hair was less perfectly styled, her outfit more modest. But more than that, her entire demeanor had changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked like genuine humility. "Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the end of this incredible story." "Ms. Bennett," Jessica said, her voice shaking slightly. "I know I have no right to be here, but I wanted to thank you and to apologize. Really apologize, not just because I lost my job, but because I've spent the last month thinking about what I did, and I'm horrified by it." Clara gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Jessica. Tell me what you've been thinking about." Jessica sat on the edge of the chair, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "After you fired me, I was angry at first. I thought you were being unfair, that I was just doing my job. But then I couldn't stop replaying that day in my mind. I kept seeing the look on your face when I called security. The way you tried to maintain your dignity even as you were being escorted out. And I realized that I had done that to someone. I had treated a human being like they were worthless." Tears began to stream down Jessica's face. "I started volunteering at a homeless shelter. I wanted to understand, I guess. To see the people I'd been so quick to judge. And every person I met had a story. Complicated, painful, real stories. Just like you had. Just like everyone has. And I realized that the worst thing I'd ever done wasn't just humiliating you. It was all the smaller moments before that. All the times I'd made snap judgments about people based on their appearance. Leave a like if you believe people can change and grow. Your support means the world to us." Clara listened carefully, evaluating Jessica's sincerity. "What are you going to do now?" "I got a job at a small family-owned hotel in Queens," Jessica said. "It's not glamorous like the Granger. The pay is less than half what I was making here, but the owners are good people who care about treating everyone with respect. They're teaching me what hospitality really means, not just the surface-level version I thought I knew." She paused, then looked directly at Clara. "I didn't come here asking for my job back. I know that's not possible, and honestly, I don't think I'm ready for it. I came because I needed you to know that what happened wasn't just a learning moment for me. It changed who I am. Or rather, it helped me become who I should have been all along." Clara felt something shift in her chest. "Jessica, I appreciate you coming here. It takes real courage to face someone you've wronged and take full accountability. That's the kind of growth that matters. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the bustling city below. You know what I've learned through all of this? We're all just trying to figure it out. We all make mistakes. The question isn't whether we'll fail, it's what we do after we fail. Do we deflect blame? Do we make excuses? Or do we sit with the discomfort, really examine our actions, and commit to doing better? Clara turned back to Jessica. Keep volunteering at that shelter. Keep learning from the people at your new job. And in a year, if you're still committed to this path of growth, come back and see me. Maybe there will be a place for you here again. Not in the same role, but somewhere you can use what you've learned to help others. Comment below what lessons you've taken from this story. We love reading your reflections. Jessica's eyes widened in surprise. You would consider giving me another chance? I believe in redemption, Clara said. I believe people can change. But you have to do the work. You have to earn the trust back. That takes time. After Jessica left, Clara stood at the window for a long time, thinking about forgiveness, growth, and second chances. Her phone buzzed with a text from Donna, the diner waitress she'd stayed in touch with. How's it going, boss lady? Clara smiled and typed back, getting better every day. Thank you for reminding me what matters. That evening, Clara walked through the lobby of the Grandeur Hotel, observing the interactions between staff and guests. She saw a bellhop patiently helping an elderly woman with her luggage, taking time to chat with her about her grandchildren. She saw a front desk agent going out of her way to accommodate a family whose flight had been delayed, arranging late check-in and ordering dinner to be sent to their room. She saw housekeepers being greeted by name by managers who stopped to ask about their families. The transformation wasn't complete. Culture change takes time. But it had begun. The Grandeur Hotel was remembering its purpose, not just to provide luxury, but to provide humanity. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We share powerful stories like this every week that remind us of what really matters in life. As Clara returned to her office, she thought about the journey that had brought her here, the pain of losing her mother, the humiliation of being rejected by her own creation, the long night that had forced her to confront what she'd lost and what she needed to reclaim. She sat down at her desk and began to write. Not a business plan or a policy memo, but a letter to her mother. In it, she described everything that had happened since she'd returned to New York. She wrote about the pain and the lessons and the unexpected gifts that had come from being broken down and forced to rebuild. You taught me, she wrote, that true success isn't measured by wealth or status or even achievement. It's measured by how we treat people when they're at their lowest, when they have nothing to offer us, when they're invisible to everyone else. You never had much, Mom. But you always saw people. Really saw them. I lost sight of that for a while, but I'm finding my way back. She sealed the letter and placed it in a drawer, a private conversation with the woman who had shaped her values from the beginning. The next morning, Clara received an email from a major hotel industry publication requesting an interview about the Grandeur's innovative culture transformation. Word was spreading about the changes she was implementing. Other hotels were reaching out, wanting to learn from her experience. Clara agreed to the interview, but with one condition. She wanted to tell the full story, including her humiliation and what it had taught her. She wanted to be vulnerable in a way that business leaders rarely were. What do you think about Clara's decision to share her vulnerable story publicly? Comment your thoughts below. The article, when it was published, was titled, "From Humiliation to Transformation: How One Hotel Owner's Worst Day Led to Her Best Work." It went viral within hours of publication, shared across social media platforms, discussed on morning news shows, and debated in business school classrooms. The response was overwhelmingly positive, but there were critics too. People who said Clara was being too soft, that hotels needed to maintain certain standards, that not everyone deserved to be treated equally. But for every critic, there were dozens of responses from people sharing their own stories of being judged, dismissed, or treated as invisible. From people who had been on both sides of the equation, those who had been mistreated and those who had done the mistreating. From people who recognized themselves in Clara's story and were inspired to do better. One message came from a young hotel management student. I was planning to focus on the business side of hospitality, the numbers, the efficiency, the profits. but your story reminded me why I fell in love with this industry in the first place. Thank you for showing me what real leadership looks like. Another came from a housekeeper at a hotel across the country. Thank you for seeing us. Thank you for remembering that we're people, not just part of the furniture. I'm going to share your story with everyone I work with. If this story has inspired you to treat people differently, please subscribe to our channel and share this video. Let's spread this message together. 6 months after Clara's return, the Grandeur Hotel held a special event, a gala celebrating its 7th anniversary. But unlike typical hotel galas that catered exclusively to VIPs and wealthy patrons, this one was different. Half the attendees were staff members from every level of the organization and their families. The other half was a mix of regular guests, local community members, and people from the homeless shelter where Jessica had been volunteering. Clara stood at the podium in the grand ballroom, looking out at the diverse crowd. 7 years ago, I had a dream of creating a hotel that represented the best of humanity. For a while, I think we lost our way. We got caught up in the pursuit of success and forgot that real success is about how we treat each other. She paused, her eyes finding familiar faces in the crowd. Robert Chen, who had been her partner in rebuilding the culture. Donna from the diner, wearing her Sunday best and looking proud. Jessica Miller, who had been invited as a guest and was openly crying. Anne,